Axient Wisdom Lesson warmly greets you all. Each of us is diligently pursuing methods to extend our lifespan, but in fact, the theory of health preservation has been systematic for thousands of years. Our understanding of it is very limited, only grasping the surface without comprehending its essence. In this video, I will help you uncover the true principles of health preservation. You will realize that the wisdom of the ancients far surpasses what we imagine. The secrets of health preservation hidden within it coincide with the principles of interpersonal conduct in today's era. Now, I will explain these essences in detail. This video may be a bit long. If you do not have time to watch it all now, please remember to subscribe to the channel so you do not miss it. Share it with your loved ones, especially the elderly. This video will be very beneficial for their health and longevity. I hope you listen carefully and feel it with all your heart. A famous doctor once said, "Human life is formed by the gathering of qi. When qi gathers, one lives." This means that qi is the fundamental energy that creates the body and maintains life activities. It has the function of preventing disease and enhancing resistance. Although the eyes cannot see it and the hands cannot touch it, if qi is lost, a person cannot exist. The ancients taught that wise people preserve their health by focusing on nurturing qi. They must be cautious in speech to nurture spiritual qi, avoid excessive joy to preserve heart qi, maintain an optimistic spirit, to help gallbladder qi, do good deeds to nurture liver qi, worry less to nourish spleen qi, eat a light diet to nurture stomach qi, keep the kidneys warm to nurture kidney qi, breathe deeply to nurture lung qi, exercise moderately to strengthen bone qi, associate with people of good character to cultivate human qi, love reading books to nurture spiritual qi, be humble and reclusive to preserve primordial qi, and live in accordance with nature to maintain fire qi. Human life is governed by the spirit and consciousness. The ancients called the spirit the ruling sovereign, meaning the spirit's relationship to the body is like that of a king to his subjects, a relationship of leadership and being led. Therefore, preserving the spirit is the most important. Conversely, if the spirit is depleted, it will cause the most serious harm to the body. So how do you nurture spiritual qi? In Journey to the West, there is a saying, "When the mouth opens, spiritual qi scatters. When the tongue moves, disputes arise." This means that if one speaks carelessly, likes to boast, lie, or utter useless words, it will deplete spiritual qi. Moreover, talking too much easily leads to mistakes, causing disputes and troubles, further depleting spiritual qi, affecting physical and mental health. Ancient renowned doctors placed great importance on preserving spiritual qi, advocating for inner conservation of spirit and speaking less with humility. When spiritual qi is sufficient and the spirit's leading role in life activities is firmly consolidated, one can maintain health. Another important aspect of health preservation is to avoid excessive joy to preserve heart qi. The biggest obstacle to health preservation is the frequent fluctuation of emotions. The cause of emotions is the brain being stimulated by external information, creating different psychological reactions such as joy, anger, worry, sadness, fear, and surprise, collectively called the 7 emotions, which directly affect the operation of internal organs. Excessive joy has the strongest impact on the heart. In the Yellow Emperor's Inner Canon, it is said, excessive joy causes qi to relax. When a person is too happy, they often laugh until they cannot stand up. According to Eastern medical theory, excessive joy harms the heart. Excessive joy stimulates heart qi to surge upward, disrupting the harmony between heart qi and kidney qi, which can cause heart disease. Such cases are not rare in real life. However, health preservation still requires maintaining a happy and optimistic mood. How is this joy different from excessive or manic joy? The core boundary lies in whether the emotion is agitated. The joy that health preservation aims for is a gentle, rational, and controllable happiness. At that time, there is only a slight smile on the face, or the expression is always somewhat relaxed. Manic joy is an irrational state that causes a person to lose control of their agitated emotions. So, how do you avoid and control manic joy? Second, cultivate the ability to control your emotions. Third, when falling into a state of excessive joy, you can think of something that makes you worried or fearful to suppress the excitement. It is said that a top scholar was summoned by the emperor to the palace to be granted a marriage to a princess. Because he was overjoyed, he went mad, suffering from a mental disorder. Even the imperial physicians in the palace could not cure him. Later, the court invited a folk doctor who specialized in treating difficult diseases to take his pulse. The doctor asked the housekeeper, "Where is the top scholar from?" The famous doctor coldly said, "This disease is incurable. He must immediately return to his hometown. If he does not get home within 3 days, he will become a wandering soul in a foreign land." The top scholar was terrified and hurried day and night, returning home in just 2.5 days. After that, not only did he not die, but his mental disorder also naturally disappeared. When he recovered, the top scholar asked the famous doctor why he had frightened him like that. "Your illness was caused by excessive joy. Medicine is no longer effective. It must be resolved by the mind." When a person is in an extreme state, worry and fear will dispel excitement, and the mood will naturally adjust back to balance. Heart fire descends, kidney water rises, yin and yang harmonize, and the body will naturally recover without medicine. Besides, helping others is also a way to enhance gallbladder qi. Laozi once said, "I am worried because I have this body." He meant that people worry about disasters because they overly value themselves. If one can think less about personal interests, do more good deeds, and think more for the collective and others, then gallbladder qi will naturally become stronger. Try looking at a person with high morals who wholeheartedly serves everyone. They will certainly be more optimistic, confident, and courageous than others. A peaceful mind has no worries and is not afraid of ghosts or doors. This is the manifestation of a person with courage, not superstitious. The source of this courage comes from a selfless, non-self-interested soul. Conversely, people with heavy self-interest often have a low and anxious mentality, always worried and fearful, overly cautious, rarely at peace internally, living in fatigue and suffering. Especially, criminals or those who do evil can never remain calm. When committing a crime, they always hide in fear. After being discovered, they always live in worry and anxiety. Anger harms the liver and can sometimes cause a person to face death. Most patients with liver cancer are people who get angry easily but do not know how to regulate and control their emotions. Therefore, one of the important factors in nourishing the liver is knowing how to restrain anger and enhance the ability to regulate and control emotions. However, restraining anger in health preservation is different from the concept of forbearance in Buddhism. A forbearing person may not show anger outwardly, but still harbors resentment internally. When emotions are suppressed too much, liver qi stagnates, becoming the root cause of disease. The correct method to control anger is to keep the mood in a neutral state. Issuing but hitting the mark is called zun. Issuing but with restraint is called he. This means that when stimulated from the outside, if one realizes that anger will harm the liver and knows how to transform it into righteous qi, it is called zong. When anger needs to be expressed outwardly but is still controlled in a beneficial and reasonable way, it is called he. Maintaining the key of neutrality, a person can control anger and nourish liver qi. The spleen governs thinking. Excessive worry harms spleen qi. In a society full of contradictions, people can hardly avoid troubles. People who worry a lot often have the characteristic of overthinking, which over time depletes qi and blood, reduces appetite, causes neurasthenia, sallow complexion, physical weakness, and leads to many diseases. From the perspective of health preservation, people cannot completely eliminate worries but can minimize or resolve them. An effective method to soothe the mind is to focus on a specific thing instead of thinking aimlessly, turning chaotic thoughts into orderly ones, changing depression into optimism, replacing narrow-mindedness with tolerance. When the mind is opened, qi and blood circulate, and spleen qi is nourished. The spleen and stomach are two organs closely related to each other. Nourishing spleen qi mainly relies on adjusting the spirit, while nourishing stomach qi is related to taking care of the body through food. The stomach is seen as the origin of postnatal life and plays an important role in human life activities. To protect the stomach, first, create a relaxed environment for it. If one frequently eats too much meat, fish, and greasy food, it will increase the burden on the stomach, reduce digestive function, and even cause stomach diseases. A light diet should include less salt, less sugar, less fat, prioritize vegetarian food, combine coarse and fine foods harmoniously, eat more green vegetables, fresh and original foods. At the same time, adjust the diet scientifically according to health status and seasonal climate. In addition, avoid overeating, do not be too particular about food, do not chase after delicacies, but emphasize balanced nutrition. From a light diet to nourish stomach qi, the kidneys are seen as the origin of prenatal life and play an important role in overall health. Abundant kidney qi means strong vitality in humans, can delay aging, and extend lifespan. There are many methods to nourish kidney qi, among which the Taoist method of refining essence into qi is very effective. When swallowing saliva into the dantian in the abdominal cavity, combined with the concentration of consciousness, it can be transformed into kidney essence, qi. Saliva in the mouth is a clear liquid with a slightly sweet taste, different from sputum, with high viscosity. Refining essence is a method of stimulating the endocrine nerves under the tongue by moving the tongue to touch the upper palate, combined with tapping teeth or moving the tongue up and down, inside and outside along the gums and teeth to stimulate saliva secretion. When the mouth is full of saliva, swallow it down to the dantian in 3 portions. If you persistently swallow saliva in this way for a long time, kidney qi will naturally become abundant. The ancients in health preservation always emphasized 3 important factors: regulating the mind, regulating the body, and regulating the breath. Among them, regulating the breath is related to breathing. They required breathing to be deep, gentle, even, and long. There are many different breathing methods, such as inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth, or breathing through the throat, breathing in sequence, or reverse breathing. No matter which method is applied, the general principle is that the breath must be deep, gentle, and long. Only in this way can lung capacity be trained, respiratory function enhanced, and the body absorb more oxygen and energy. Deep breathing is the premise of regulating the breath, while gentleness and length ensure deep breathing. In the past, some cultivators placed a feather in front of their nose when practicing breathing. If the breath out did not move the feather, it proved they had reached the level of deep, gentle, and long breathing. Zhuangzi also mentioned a special breathing method, reflecting the depth of breathing techniques and the skill of regulating the breath in health preservation. Life lies in movement, which mainly refers to the physical movement of humans. When the body moves a lot, large and small joints become more flexible. At the same time, it helps the qi and blood channels in the body to circulate smoothly, allowing bones to absorb nutrients both internally and externally, thereby strengthening bone qi. People with abundant and smooth bone qi will not suffer from osteoporosis, joint degeneration, or bone deformities. However, when exercising to nourish bone qi, one must also combine it with intention. That is, qi must follow the spirit. When moving a certain part of the body, one must focus the intention on that part. For example, when moving the hands, the intention must be directed to the hands. When moving the feet, the intention must be directed to the feet. According to the viewpoint of traditional Chinese medicine, intention is the guide of qi. Under the guidance of consciousness, when focusing on a certain part, the energy qi will also be supplemented to that part. This method of combining body and mind in exercise helps strengthen bone qi and protect the entire body, achieving optimal results with minimal effort. Humans are both natural and social entities. This determines that humans are not only connected to nature but also bound by complex social relationships. The connection between humans and nature is maintained through society. This shows that human life activities cannot be separated from nature, nor can they be separated from society. However, some ancient cultivators advocated escaping the three realms and not being within the five elements, choosing to practice in seclusion in deep forests and mountains or in desert caves, cutting off all social ties. But in reality, it is not so. If a person is completely isolated from society, they are no longer a human in the true sense. In the past, there were reports of wolf children or tiger children. These children lived with animals from a young age, received information from animals, and gradually developed habits similar to them. As a result, their human nature was also changed. Therefore, health preservation and protecting health cannot go hand in hand with self-isolation. People need to expand their relationships, associate with beneficial friends, build an open and harmonious living space, establish broad social relationships to enhance community effects, and increase human qi. People will have high spirits, greatly benefiting physical and mental health. A scientist once said, "Intelligence comes from diligence, genius from accumulation." This saying is very suitable for the principle of health preservation. The spiritual qi we mention here is inspiration. Many human creations originate from inspiration. Most immortal works of writers and poets through the centuries were formed in a state of inspiration. Famous paintings by renowned artists, important scientific inventions, and even military strategies of talented generals can be planned and implemented thanks to moments of inspiration. Although inspiration is related to innate intelligence, the more important factor is the habit of reading and persistent learning spirit. The more knowledge accumulated in the brain, the stronger the ability to activate inspiration, and the higher the probability of inspiration appearing. A great genius, if not learning and mastering knowledge about aerospace technology, no matter how intelligent, cannot create a spacecraft. Humans can not only achieve success in their careers, but also have the ability to protect and nurture their lives from many angles. This introspection will help you better understand your spiritual path and build a stronger connection with your true self. Overcoming these spiritual body transformation experiences and shadow work is not always an easy journey. It requires patience, self-compassion, and a willingness to let go of what no longer serves you. When primordial qi is exhausted, life ends. There are many reasons for the depletion of primordial qi. Serious incidents causing psychological and physical trauma. Living in a stressful environment, prolonged mental pressure, serious illness, or undergoing major surgeries. These three causes are often due to objective factors, and humans can hardly control them completely. Another cause of primordial qi depletion comes from subjective factors, which is the habit of liking to show off. The human body tends to emit qi from the inside out, and showing off originates from the inner self, causing the part to be depleted, which is primordial qi. Whether a person likes to show off or not can be completely controlled by consciousness. Therefore, wise people always regard not showing off as an important part of health preservation. Great virtue has high morality and carries a strong harmonious qi. Because Laozi has high morality, his sphere of influence is also very wide. Maintaining fire qi is thanks to knowing how to live according to the middle way, that is, when dealing with people or solving problems. One needs to maintain a gentle attitude, not deviate from reality, not be biased, not be extreme. The ancients said, fire qi brings wealth in business, harmony is precious in politics, and family harmony brings prosperity in family ethics. Many events in history have proven that fire qi has great power to connect and influence. It helps people build a comfortable and relaxed psychological and living environment, thereby bringing health and longevity. Inside the human body, there are many types of qi of meridians, yin qi, wei qi, and mo qi. Among them, there is also a type called true qi, stored in the dantian. This is prenatal qi, a product of the harmony between prenatal qi and postnatal qi, and is also the extremely precious vital energy of the body. It means that people who want to preserve their health must make their minds pure, not be disturbed by delusions, and at the same time, keep their bellies full and the dantian abundant with true qi. The key to supplementing and consolidating true qi is to use intention to guide qi, use consciousness to gather void primordial qi to the dantian, promote the harmony of prenatal qi and postnatal qi into true qi, and continuously enhance vitality. Laziness is an innate bad habit and the #1 killer of health preservation. In fact, practicing health preservation is not too difficult, but the most difficult thing is to overcome laziness. It always creeps in and takes deep root like long grass, impossible to cut or pull out completely. When laziness dominates, a person's wisdom qi cannot develop. Conversely, if a person cares for health preservation but lacks wisdom qi, no matter how hard they try, it is difficult to achieve the desired effect. Health preservation is not a short-term action but must last a lifetime. On this long journey of health preservation, one cannot avoid the impact of family, society, and even oneself, as well as countless unexpected difficulties. Before these challenges, every step forward requires wisdom, qi, as motivation. Without wisdom, qi, how can one talk about health preservation? If you want to preserve your health, you must first eliminate laziness day by day, persistently reduce it until wisdom qi is truly firmly established. This is the highest standard in health preservation. The process of health preservation is the process of correctly recognizing and transforming both the subjective and objective worlds. To achieve the goal of health preservation, one needs a broad subjective world and a heart as tolerant as heaven and earth. However, changing the subjective world is a fundamental change. Especially, transforming one's inner world is an arduous and painful process. The core of this transformation lies in 2 words. The concept of private ownership has been deeply rooted in human consciousness for thousands of years, making it a part of instinct. Therefore, changing the perception of private ownership cannot be completed overnight. On the other hand, in a normal state, people often perceive the subjective world one-sidedly and biasedly. People often lack overall perspective but are extremely obstinate. This obstinacy in focusing on small parts while ignoring the big picture has formed a one-sided worldview and methodology prevalent in society. When people still hold selfishness and obstinacy, they cannot have a broad heart and cannot nurture righteous qi. People who preserve their health and want to have a broad heart must first eliminate selfishness, nurture a sense of justice, do good with a sincere heart, and use a sincere heart to give love. Only by doing this can the righteous qi in the body be firm. Health preservation and protecting health is a large system, which not only includes cultivating the body, but, more importantly, cultivating the mind. Compared to physical training, cultivating the mind is much more difficult. Cultivating the mind is not just simply raising awareness or training temperament in a quiet environment, but must go through trials in the complex contradictions of society to enhance the ability to endure, adapt, and control oneself. Thus, people can broaden their hearts, nurture morality, and perfect themselves. Even cultivating the body is not as simple as many people think. It is not enough to just practice martial arts, dance, or qigong to preserve health. These physical activities cannot be separated from the regulation of consciousness and the method of combining mind and body. One cannot oversimplify the process of health preservation. Thank you for watching until the end. If today's sharing is helpful to you, please give it a like to show your support. I wish health and longevity to your loved ones. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please click the subscribe button on the right side of the screen to connect with me. Joyfully share the article to accumulate boundless merit.